ESPN just put out a 7-round mock draft for the New York Giants, and we're going to react to it on today's show. Before we do, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We are 22 days away from night one of the NFL draft. We're putting out draft videos every single day, and we're going to be live for every single pick of the draft here on the channel. So subscribe and turn those notifications on. This is New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's show. Shout out to Matt Miller of ESPN. He did a full 7-round mock draft for every single team in the league. And we're going to focus on the picks he made for Big Blue. The Giants are picking at number 5, 37, 105, 145, and they have 3 picks in round 6. There's been a lot of conversation about the Giants potentially moving down from pick 5 and or 37 to add a 3rd-round pick because you gave up that 3rd-round pick for Jaxson Dart, a move we would all do over and over again, but we're greedy, and we wish we had Dart and that 3rd-round pick. So keep your eyes on a potential trade down. We're talking about the picks that were made at each one of these slots. The way that this draft started was Fernando Mendoza going number 1 to the Raiders. That's done. Like, I don't even feel the need to talk about that pick anymore. Arvell Reese, the Ohio State Buckeye who could play on the edge and playoff ball, goes to the New York Jets. Francis Maui-Noah, the right tackle out of Miami, who has the ability to slide into play guard, goes number 3 to the Cardinals. And then Jeremiah Love, the Golden Domer, the running back, goes to the Tennessee Titans to team up with Cam Ward and Brian Dable. And Matt Miller had the New York Giants selecting Caleb Downs, the do-it-all safety, the other Buckeye defender, or one of the 3 Buckeye defenders that is expected to go inside the top 10. Not Sonny Styles. Matt Miller has the New York Giants selecting Caleb Downs. And if you've been watching this channel during this year's draft cycle, you know that I'm a big fan of Downs. And if the Giants walk out of the draft with Downs being the number 5 overall pick, I'm going to be pumped up about it. I think you can make the argument he is the best defensive player in this class. Just when you compare him to a guy like Arvell Reese or Ruben Bain or Sonny Styles, he plays the position that probably has the least amount of impact. But I think he might play his position better than anybody else plays their position. The only negative thing you can say about Caleb Downs' game is the position that he plays. Matt Miller wrote this about the potential of Downs being a Giant, quote, "The Giants have a bunch of needs to choose from with this pick. The receiver and right tackle being prominent ones. But Downs' fit with new coach John Harbaugh can't be ignored. Having coached Ed Reed and Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore, Harbaugh knows the value of a versatile, smart safety prospect. That describes Downs, who started immediately at Alabama as a freshman and for 2 seasons at Ohio State. Pairing him with Javon Holland would give New York a dynamic duo at safety, while needs elsewhere can be addressed later." I agree pretty much with everything that Matt Miller said there. And one thing I think that he didn't touch on was that Caleb Downs is a perfect scheme fit for Denard Wilson, which they will be running that old Baltimore Ravens system. And he talked about Javon Holland. He sounds like he's got a lot more confidence in Holland than I do at this point. But Holland, Newman, Washington, Pennock, Campbell, and Braid, like, I don't have confidence really in any of those guys. And just because you signed our Darius Washington and Jason Pinnock to 1-year deals doesn't take you out of the Caleb Downs sweepstake. Like, we've been following the breadcrumbs on this channel. The Giants have done their work on Caleb Downs. Here they are at the Ohio State Pro Day. There's John Harbaugh, and Chris Mara also made the trip out to Columbus for the Ohio State Pro Day. There's Joe Shane in his grouch outfit wearing all gray, talking to Caleb Downs. Like, the interest is obvious, and I think he is one of the leaders in the clubhouse to be the selection. I mean, you go back to when John Harbaugh joined the Mike Francesa show back in January, immediately after he was hired, and Francesa asked him about Caleb Downs, and Harbaugh responded, big fan, big fan. You know, you didn't mention that I coach Brian Dawkins as well. Yeah, we favor Hall of Fame safeties. So if we have a chance to draft a potential future Hall of Fame safety in Caleb Williams, that would be just fine with me. Like, I don't think that there should be anyone that has any, like, legitimate reason to be upset with Caleb Downs being the pick. Like, he's going to make you better as a run defense as well. He's going to play inside the box. He's going to shoot gaps. He has elite like ball tracking skills as well as pursuit. He doesn't miss tackles in the open field. He's a weapon on defense. And if there's a matchup for a tight end, which the Giants haven't been able to cover for my entire life, you can slide him onto a Dallas Goedert. You can put him onto a tight end in the slot. And maybe in a playoff game, and that could be a difference down the line. I would love the idea of Caleb Downs being the selection at number 5. To round 2 we go, and KC Concepcion, the playmaking wideout out of Texas A&M, was the player that Matt Miller mocked to the Giants with selection number 37 in round 2. Concepcion's tape is some of the best in college football, and he is a home run waiting to happen. Every single time he touches the football, he has a threat to go the distance. He makes tacklers miss. He makes contested catches, and he just has a knack for making big-time plays. And on top of that, you can use him as a punt returner and a kick returner. The only thing that I think kind of holds me back from being all in on KC Concepcion is the drops. And that's what happens when you get targeted the amount of times he has throughout his college career, you're going to drop the football. But 19 drops over 3 years, 7 this past year, 7 in 2024 is a concern for me, but not anything that's going to be like a red light that's going to stop me from selecting him. This is the type of player the Giants need, and he would be a hell of a replacement for Wan'Dale Robinson. Miller wrote Concepcion would further help second-year quarterback Jaxson Dart while adding a playmaker opposite of Malik Nabers. Concepcion is an elite yards after catch receiver who excels from the slot. He's a chain mover who would seamlessly replace the departed Wan'Dale Robinson. I know you went out and you signed Darnell Mooney. I like that you brought back Isaiah Hodgins. You have Calvin Austin on a very cheap, team-friendly deal. But there is still work to be done at this wide receiver room. And one thing I always say on this show is you're not drafting at number 5 or number 37 and changing who you want because of players you sign in free agency to 1-year deals. We talked about early, 1-year deal Jason Pinnock and 1-year deal Ardarius Washington doesn't mean you're out of the Caleb Downs sweepstakes. Just because you paid Calvin Austin $1.5 million and Darnell Mooney a 1-year contract for not a lot of money, that doesn't mean you don't need or won't draft another wide receiver. You draft inside the top 50 for the next 5 to 6 to 7 years. Those guys are on the team for guaranteed 1 year. So keep taking shots at receiver. Keep putting talented pass catchers around your young quarterback in Jaxson Dart. Giants do not pick in round 3, so they go about 70 selections until they are on the board again. And when they are at pick 105, Keagen Trost, the offensive lineman out of Missouri, was the selection that Matt Miller had for them. 24 years old, so a little bit older of a prospect, but he's got prototypical size to really play tackle or guard in the National Football League. 6'4", 316 pounds, and when you play in the SEC like he did at Missouri, you're battle tested, and that's exactly what Trost is. He was graded out pretty favorably in 891 snaps by Pro Football Focus, one of the highest graded out players in the pass blocking and run blocking department of all really linemen in this class. 92 overall, 85.4 when it comes to pass blocking, and 91.4 when it comes to run blocking. Only allowed 1 sack last year, so he can't be trusted when it comes to pass protection, and he wasn't penalized all too often as well. Lance Zierlein, who does an awesome job covering the draft, wrote this about him, saying, 7th-year senior with 42 starts between 4 different schools. Trost's improvement from 2024 to 25 was obvious on tape. Battles against Missouri, Zion Young and Damon Wilson II got him game ready to handle his work against good SEC competition. He has a broad, proportional build and plays with good body control and firmness through contact. Pro edge speed could push him inside to guard, whereas tackle experience and ability to play in gap or zone schemes are differentiators. Positional versatility, toughness, and a ready-made frame give Trost a chance to eventually become a starter. And those are things that I want to hear about an offensive lineman that you're looking to take at selection 105. You're swinging for the fences there, and the idea of swinging for the fences to land maybe a consistent starter at guard or someone that could be a swing tackle for you as well is something that I am absolutely interested in. we heard Joe Schoen as well as John Harbaugh at the NFL owners meetings on Monday once again bang the table, talk about offensive line. And we want to have the best offensive line in the NFL. And games are won and lost on the line of scrimmage. I don't know what that means instead of words, because they haven't done anything to back those words up. And look, drafting Keagen Trost at 105 doesn't necessarily add much more validity to those words, but it would be a step in the right direction considering you still don't have a starting right guard on this team. They said more moves were coming, and the roster was a work in progress, so we'll see. But I do like the idea of whether it is Trost or someone else, an offensive lineman being selected in one of the first 3 picks for the Giants. Chandler Rivers is the next selection, the cornerback out of Duke with the round 5 pick, number 145 overall, is who ESPN's Matt Miller had going to the Giants in the 7th round mock draft. 5'10", 185 pounds, so a little bit smaller build for a corner. But look, corners are always kind of hit and miss when they go from college to the NFL, and the Giants really haven't had that much success when it comes to finding corners as of late. But this guy was active around the ball last year for Duke. 10 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, allowed just 1 touchdown, did allow a completion percentage of 70.5 when he was targeted. But when you're taking a corner this late in the NFL draft, you're kind of hoping for the best case scenario. PFF writes Chandler Rivers is a corner for the Duke Blue Devils, who earned a 79.2 overall PFF defensive grade in the 2025 season, ranking 89th among 897 qualified corners. When you talk about some pros and cons of Rivers, Zerline writes he punches above his weight class when jamming the release, and that's a trait that I think all Giants fans should be looking for in these corners. The Giants want to play press coverage. They want their corners to be physical on the outside. Notes that his change of direction and footwork are a plus. Execute zone exchanges with good communication. Some weaknesses: a smaller corner with short arms, overreacts to the route and loses leverage at times. And just one of those things that you got to see him be able to do it at the next level. And he did pretty good at the NFL Combine, as well as through his pro day and pro scouting process as well, rating in the 90th percentile when it comes to his relative athletic score. I also like that this is a guy that can bounce from the outside to the inside. 591 snaps last year on the boundary with 154 in the slot. So some versatility as well is something that I like. It comes to the look. You talk about this player. He is small. He's got good athletic numbers. He fits your scheme with his ability to play press coverage on the outside, and he's got some on-ball production as well with 10 pass breakups this past year. Like, you're not getting a perfect prospect in round 5, especially at the corner spot. Those guys don't fall to the 5th round. You're hoping you can find someone that you develop with John Harbaugh and Denard Wilson and Delicio, who comes over from the Kansas City Chiefs. So don't mind the pick. Don't mind the idea. Hoping if he is a Giant, they can get the most out of him. We're going to talk about the 3 6th-round picks the New York Giants have coming up in a second, but make sure you are hooked up with our brand new merch here at Giants Now by Chat Sports. Adbul Carter has switched his number from 51 to 3. A lot of people are like, Marsh, what do? I got the 51 jersey. Well, for just, I think it's, what are we selling these shirts for? $30, $25? A fraction of the price for a shirt compared to a jersey, and you get to support Giants Now by Chat Sports. Doing his famous pose, the sack dance. Get your shirt. It's at this link, chatsports.com/AC3. All right, the Giants have 3 picks here in the 6th round, and I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't watched the most tape on all of these guys, and I like doing these as well because they are exercises for me. And I'm not even going to Kaczmarek or Kaczmarek. What do you think? Kaczmarek. Big Will, 6'6", 258 though, really big tight end, 23 years old, 12 receptions, 140 yards last year, did have 2 touchdowns, a pass catcher out of Ohio State. We've seen those guys have success, and they're going to be running a lot of tight ends on the field this year. You'll see 12 personnel, 13 personnel, and there's even been talks about potentially 14 personnel I don't mind taking another shot on a tight end in round 6. Finally, though, they select somebody on the defensive line, Cameron Ball out of Arkansas, a big man that could play in the trenches at 6'5", 323 pounds, had 28 tackles last year for the Razorbacks in the SEC and 4 tackles for loss. Could this be the next DJ Davidson that you find? And then Tariq Sapp. Is this Warren Sapp's son? I think it is. I could be wrong. I'm going to double check right here. Warren Sapp's son. Pretty sure it is. No? Maybe not. Maybe not. No. Just Sapp, and it's an edge player, a defensive lineman. 6'2", 274 pounds, 23 years old. Trying to find somebody on the edge as well. 27 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. SEC edge rusher. I'm down for it at pick 193. It's important, though. I know I don't know much about the 6th-round picks at this point, and as we're 22 days away from the NFL draft, I'm ramping up my scouting on my end, but it's not my job to find 6th-round picks that work. The Giants need to do that. And when you look at the best teams in the NFL, they occasionally hit on 4th-round picks and 5th-round picks and 6th-round picks. And I'm not talking about hit on them and then they let them leave the first opportunity they get to free agency like the Giants did in 2022 and free agency this year. You want to keep those guys in the building. Hopefully the Giants can, as they are, limited in draft capital, can find someone with their last 4 picks that could be a down-in and down-out player. So we'll recap the mock draft, and I'll ask you to grade it in the comments. A, B, C, D, or F. Caleb Downs, KC Concepcion, Keagen Trost, Chandler Rivers, Will Merrick, Cameron Ball, and Tariq Sapp. Not related to Warren Sapp. I would have gave this mock draft an A if he was. When I look at this draft, one thing, it's hard to talk about because, yeah, I love the idea of getting Downs, and I would love to add a playmaking wide receiver in round 2, but you didn't add a defensive tackle until round 6, and the New York Giants have a major hole at defensive tackle. If the Giants don't select someone on the defensive line until pick 192 and 193, I think that could be a little bit trouble unless they're going to nail those picks out of the park. So what happens when you only have 2 picks inside the top 105, and that's why I think the New York Giants are likely to trade down in round 1 and or potentially round 2. Not the worst draft, not the best draft. I like the idea of the first 2 players. After that, you'll have to see what they are in the National Football League. Appreciate everybody for clicking on today's show. If you haven't yet, give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at @MarshallGreen_.